Good evening, friends, and welcome to an unscheduled live stream of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We have breaking news out of Idaho. Unfortunately, today at about 1:21 p.m. Idaho time, firefighters responded to a brush fire in a mountainside, and they responded and were immediately taken on gunfire. Two firefighters, as of right now, have been confirmed shot and killed. And we're going to bring you this press conference, which is kind of from in the past, but we're just getting wind of it now. So I wanted to go live with you guys now with this breaking news.
Get started. It's approximately 4:35. Today is June the 29th. Everybody okay? Can you hear me okay? Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the Sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities. And we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. And that's really all that we know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple of questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
Original KXOY, the 2 deaths, are they fighter personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off the mountain?
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
Ian Brown, Crime 2. You mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at
No.
the moment?
Nope,
Okay.
we do not.
Alex Douglas, the spokesman. How are you going about evacuating people from the mountain or getting personnel out of there who are being shot at? I mean, what does that process look like?
Right now, we're developing a plan to be able to suppress these individuals' firefighting capability. And when we get that under control, when we have an opportunity to suppress that, then we will continue our removing of people who are on the mountain, who are on for a hike, or public safety personnel, or people who live on the backside of the mountain.
Do we have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used. Yes.
How many acres is this fire?
I don't know.
Started out as a half acre.
Do we know about how many minutes after he got from fire the fire crews arrived?
Well, we got the first call at 1:21, and we have reports that they were taking shots at about 2 o'clock. I don't know what time they arrived on scene. I don't know what time the firefighters arrived on scene, but we can get you that information at the next briefing if you'd like.
How many engines were on the scene when shots were fired? You know that? 3? We were 3. Thank you.
And just to be clear, the people who responded, they were wildland firefighters or they were local firefighters fighting wildland firefighters?
City of Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai Fire Rescue.
Yes,
When
sir.
the shots were fired, were they at an accelerated rate or was it a single shot?
Oh, no, we're taking rapid fire up there. In the back?
You keep referring to individuals. Are you referring to the casualties or like even?
Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case.
We have confirmation that there are people stuck up there.
We people are still coming off the mountain, so it would only be safe to assume that the mountain is not clear.
As of right now, is there an active threat to?
Absolutely there is.
Has there
yeah.
been a shelter-in-place order put forth?
Yes, there has, and I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This is going to be, if these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation.
Here's a question. So is the suspect in a home up there? Are they, do we have an indication of where they might be on the mountain?
Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open firing?
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending in with their surroundings.
Sure, Norris.
Go ahead.
Did you mention that the person that called it in is most likely the shooter?
No, we didn't say that. We said the first call was at 121 on a fire, and then we started receiving over our radio that the firefighters were receiving shots fired from the mountain.
Sure, Norman. Has anything happened like this before? And if so, do you think you and other law enforcement entities will be more aware going forward?
You know, this is an interesting dynamic. We have seen some of these things in a urban environment where firefighters were in a urban setting, putting out firefighters during civil disobedience, getting shot at. I've seen that. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself, but I have seen it in an urban setting frequently where firefighters do get shot at in, civil unrest. Yes.
So do we know if it's one or two shooters?
We don't know if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, we don't know.
Just for the fire itself, firefighting efforts, is it contained? Is it still spreading? What is that?
Well, it's gonna keep burning because we can't put a lot of resources on there right now. But Chief,
No, we won't put any resources
Yeah.
out there until the threat is neutralized.
Do we have like a risk of wildfire? Say, is it high winds? Is that going to fuel the fire or anything? Or is it?
We're at a high state right now in wildland, so it'll calm down as the evening progresses, but then it'll pick back up tomorrow.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is neutralized by then. Thank you.
Sure, Norris. How are you feeling about this overall from when you first got the call to just now from what you heard?
you know what? It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
Ed, pretty powerful right there. You have the sheriff up at the podium, Kootenai County, Idaho, saying, he's not saying my guys, anybody who has a shot, take the shot. That's pretty powerful. I haven't heard that before.
And they don't even know where this person is.
Yeah.
They don't know how many people are up there. They just have right now somebody or some group firing shots down on the fireman, trying to put out the brush fire. Crazy, just crazy. And they don't know where his position or the person's positions are. And they don't know they haven't seen him, don't know what kind of weapon he's having. I mean, they should be using reverse 911 and sending out messages to the community, and especially the people on the mountain, to their cell phones, and trying to get people to call in from their cell phones to give them any intel they may have, or what they've seen or what they heard. If they're stuck on the mountain, where are they stuck? What's going on? What have they seen? What have they heard? Have they seen the shooter? Do they know what kind of weapon systems the shooter or shooters are using?
Yeah, and like I said, there is plenty of resources in that community as it pertains to law enforcement. But when you hear the sheriff say, if anybody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize the threat, take it. I just, like I said, I had to stop that, because I don't remember in recent past ever hearing that coming from a sheriff at a podium. So this must be obviously a serious situation for them. I hope they could use drones. I hope we do have footage of aircraft, helicopters flying very high enough to be out of range of these long rifles. He made a mention of modern day sporting rifles. And what was the other one? He said rapid fire.
He said high powered.
High powered.
I don't know how he knows any of these things, without having any recovered ballistics. Unless, they got some kind of footage or information about what's being used, because they don't know where the shooter is. They haven't seen him.
Right. This is, again, Coeur d'Alene. I know I'm not saying it right. Idaho. That's where Ann Taylor, Brian Kohlberger's defense attorney, is from. Because I remember they were talking about when the trial was down in Latah County, and they moved it up into where they are now. But they were talking about her travels, and she said it was 300 miles north of Latah County when the trial was supposed to be still there. So let me just take a listen to the rest of this. Unbelievable situation. Unbelievable situation. Thank you, Great Dane Mom.
Because they are not, at this point in time, showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
Wow.
I've seen several life flight helicopters coming in and out. Are there any other air resources that are being used at the moment?
Oh yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Bureau that is containing assets. And whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has, like I said, we have other counties that are here. We have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat.
Has anybody made contact?
Sorry, I know we touched on this with the
Yeah, that I think one of the reporters asks it here, but I have some local news coverage, so we're going to take a listen to after this some local on the ground news coverage. So let's just hear the rest of these reporters' questions, because he answers every question that's volleyed at him.
Thanks. We know they're
Here, and we will neutralize this threat. We have local that is containing assets, and whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has, like I said, we have other counties that are here. We have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat. So,
sorry, I know we touched on this with the suspects. We know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations that bullets are coming from that might indicate that?
yes. Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
So it's coming from not just one.
Yeah. It's what the officers and deputies are reporting up on the mountain right now. So,
Have any officers been hit?
as of right now, we don't have any officers that have been hit. Okay.
Can you just list all the law enforcement authorities that are here on scene?
Well, I have not gotten a list yet, but however, if pretty much everybody that's in this region, we have some Spokane resources that are here. We have Marshal's office that is on scene. Bonner County Sheriff's here. Coeur d'Alene Police, of course, is here. Idaho State Police, but we have a multitude of resources right now. So, okay, what we'll do is Lieutenant Mark Ellis is going to be one of our press relations here, and we'll determine what time we'll do another press conference, or if the next one will just be a press release. So I'm thinking it'll probably be a press conference, and it'll probably be somewhere in the next 3 or 4 hours, unless something significant happens before then. Okay.
All right. So that was the news conference. Ed, I want to go to you for your thoughts as it pertains to assets that they could utilize. He talked about state and federal partners on scene. Maybe just give a little bit of an overview of what assets they could throw at this to get intel, to see down on the ground and so forth.
Yeah, so you could use your drone capabilities there with thermal imaging and infrared, and get high enough up there to scan the area to look for maybe a sniper in a position. You could use your other aerial assets like your helicopters or even fixed wing that have forward-looking infrared. Right now it's daylight, right? And not sure about what the canopy situation is, meaning the foliage of the trees and so forth. If they have full foliage and full canopy, this guy could be hidden from those types of air assets, which would mean then you're going to have to get boots on the ground to go up there. And you have a lot of armored vehicles that could be used, your Bearcats and other things, your SWAT teams from the various law enforcement agencies, local, state, and federal, and out of state, because they're so close to Washington State. I understood him to say that Spokane was there.
Right.
So that's a Washington State asset that's probably called up in a mutual aid agreement to come in and assist. Now once you start getting a lot of those law enforcement agencies on the ground, you got to be very careful so that you can deconflict, as we say, and so that they're not accidentally having a friendly fire situation. Yeah, they need to gather as much intel as they can from anybody that's stuck on the mountain, who's sheltering in place on the mountain, what they see, what they hear, if anybody saw anything. They might want to start trying to make contact with reverse 911 to the cell phone. Maybe you can get the actual shooters to get on the horn with a hostage negotiator or some type of law enforcement negotiator. Excuse me. To make contact and see what's going on. What do these people want? Maybe you can talk them down, or whatever the case may be.
I brought up the sheriff here at that press conference and podium talking about anyone that could take the shot. Now, when we look at stuff like this, it's like for me, it just turns the situation into a potential worse situation as it pertains to giving the green light to have citizens go out and hunt the people or persons that are doing this down. So now, when we look at this thing, Ed, I'm just looking at it from a controlled environment. I know that there's a lot of panic over there, and this is not a normal thing that happens. The reporter asked, "Have you ever had this happen before?" He started naming in other areas. But when you give citizens the green light to now take the shot and take somebody out, now it could invite people who want to go out there and want to put on their your hunting gear and go out there. I don't know. It just something about that statement rubs me the wrong way. I don't, I might take some heat for this, but it just seems like it makes a dangerous situation even more dangerous.
I think they're going to be locking down their access to this mountain, okay, so that people can't come in and do what you're saying. I think he was referring to people that may be on the mountain, because many people, when they go hiking in these types of rural mountain areas, go armed, right? Because they may encounter wildlife and they may need to protect themselves. So, if you're appropriately armed, he's putting that out there, to protect yourself. And then if you have the shot, take the shot. I've never heard that before. Again, we're different. We're a city police agency, so we don't have to deal with those types of rural situations. I would never in my career think that anybody in the NYPD would be telling them, if you can take the shot, take the shot.
Two different kind of locations. We're going to show the location on the screen here. Let's take a listen to this local report.
Now, emergency personnel and law enforcement are responding to a major emergency. We are working right now to confirm what is being broadcast on the scanner, which is that fire crews responding to a wildfire were ambushed and shot. And while we don't typically report scanner information, reporters in the area are seeing wildfire smoke in the area of East Nettleton Gulch Road and 15th. And you can see that area marked out on your map there. Right now, we do know an emergency shelter is in place. We do have a reporter on the scene there, Hunter Bertram, behind the camera here. You can see that massive police response in front of him. Hunter, if you can hear us here, walk us through what's going on, what you know so far out there.
Yeah, hi Jordan. I'm out here at Kootenai Health in Coeur Lane, probably about 10 minutes from that developing situation off of Canfield Mountain Trailhead, Nettleton Gulch Road, which Kootenai County Emergency Management just issued. If you are in that area, you need to shelter in place, and you are asked to avoid the area as this developing situation is taking place. You can see in my camera right now, those two folks that are actually walking towards me had just dropped off waters, granola bars. There's dozens of law enforcement, fire personnel. You can also see a little bit, emergency staff here at the hospital awaiting possible patients for getting them help, getting them treatment. I've been here about 30 minutes and more people have been arriving with law enforcement personnel. As you said, we don't have much information confirmed right now, but I can see from where I'm standing a large plume of smoke in that area on Canfield Mountain Trailhead. And that's kind of what we're monitoring right now from the situation here. I'm going to just swivel my camera. Hopefully you can see that smoke just pluming above these trees right here. It's really showing above East Coeur d'Alene.
Bullets and Bling, if you would like to join us by audio, we'd love to hear more about the terrain, which I've got Google Earth up right now, and the terrain looks pretty thick, a lot of thick brush in that particular location. But Bullets and Bling, you let me know, send me an email on DutyRon.com if you want to join us, to give us, you don't have to come on camera, you could just join us by audio. We would love to hear about that area in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, where this incident is ongoing. This is something that is not just an incident that happened. This is active and ongoing as we speak, ladies and gentlemen.
Just a large plume. And I know we had just seen tons of different EMS vehicles coming to the hospital, leaving the hospital. I haven't seen any patients myself get out of any of the emergency vehicles, as there are still many first responders just here ready to take in any possible patients that have been injured right now in Jordan. Just a really developing and really intense situation you can see here at Kootenai Health. And again, we're working to get information. It's a very critical scene right now, and we're just trying to get accurate and credible information before we tell you at home.
Absolutely. And certainly based on the scanner traffic, a very unprecedented situation potentially unfolding there. Hunter, thank you. And we will go back to a live look at that scene. Again, emergency responders staged at Kootenai Health. At least one medical helicopter has responded to the area. Again, we have a team on the ground there that's seen law enforcement in the area flying down the streets, responding, heading to the scene. We saw SWAT on I-90 on the way out there. And again, you can just see on that picture in front of you the
massive response here, Ed. Let me just unmute you. A massive response here, talking about the FBI and many different agencies, state, local, and federal partners converging on the scene here. And again, this happened at 1:21 p.m. Idaho time, Mountain time. So just a massive response. I want to go back to this map here that they put up. This is where the fire was burning, and it looks like, if you look over to the right here, it looks like a massive area, open area. But here we're looking at this looks like homes in this community here. These are streets and so forth. I'm going to pull it up on Google Earth, but let me know what you think, Ed.
Yeah, this doesn't look right, this map here. I mean, this looks like a residential neighborhood where that fire symbol is posted. It doesn't look like,
Yeah.
I don't know what the scale is, the distance from the wooded area because the shooter being up in the wooded area and firing down on that position, there's not enough information here. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, maybe if somebody, like I said, somebody from the local area can give us more of a local a street address, or maybe just an actual area, because this definitely doesn't look like this, but we're looking at it from the street, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for us to pinpoint it down. Let's go to the chat and see what we got. But Ed, your thoughts again. I tried to we tried to get a little bit into this, but what is in your thoughts, what is happening now at the command center? Obviously they're going to be doing getting all their mapping together and looking to narrow this this area down where the potential shooting is happening, narrow that down and do it in a safe way. Your thoughts, Ed?
Yeah, well, they're going to have ICS, Incident Command System, set up, and they're going to have an incident commander, and then all the logistics and all the branches of the ICS will be set up, and they're going to get the planning together and have maps, topographical maps of the mountain here, understand what the terrain is and what the various elevations of the location on the mountains where the shooter could be. And they'll have information about what could be in the mountains, such as caves and mines and other things, hiking trails, residential parts of the mountain and other aspects of it. And they're going to try and figure out where the shooter could possibly be. And they're going to conduct their aerial asset searches, and they're going to go on the ground as well. I hope that, I would suspect they're going to be using armored vehicles to move into and up the mountain to clear areas. And then once they clear the areas, then hold the area and move on to the next areas. They're going to have hundreds and hundreds of assets they're going to need to do this in such a large area. They may have to call in the National Guard. I hope the governor is already doing this to assist law enforcement.
Yeah. So you can only hope and pray that the maximum amount of assets are brought into this location to take out this threat. And we don't know if the threat is one person, multiple people. Some of our friends in the chat are talking about this area is a kind of a rough area. So we'd like to get more. We'd like to learn more about this area where this is taking place. But let's take a listen to live coverage. Again, this isn't them live, but this is the live stream of the local news there.
Start off with a live look at Cherry Hill Fire Station 3 in Coeur d'Alene. We're standing by for an update from emergency personnel to learn more about what's happened over there. And again, in the last hour, ABC News confirming firefighters ambushed by a gunman while responding to a brush fire down there. We'll see if we can't pull up a map of that area to show you that area.
And this brush fire that they're referring to here, Ed, it was allegedly set by these either a gunman or these gunmen. It was set to draw them in ambush style. We've seen this in the NYPD, not quite like this, but where people call in a call for service and then they start shooting at us from buildings. I've had it happen myself, actually, when I was a rookie. We got a call for an aided or a person down. We go to the outside of a building or a high-rise location, and all of a sudden we take gunfire on. So this type of ambush stuff has been going on for years and years and years, and we've seen it. But this, again, today takes on a new level because they're going after firefighters, EMS, paramedics, so forth.
Yeah, we had riots during the Kiko Garcia up in Harlem case, and where firefighters were injured by people throwing bricks and 5-gallon buckets of joint compound off the roof at them while they were on the streets.
Yeah, John Williamson, police officer from housing, killed that way, exactly that way, in 1993. Let's take a listen to this and let it go further.
Again, crews responding to, you can see a wildfire smoke in the area of East Nettleton Gulch Road. Here, there it is on the screen there.
So
you
this
can
is
see an
again.
emergency shelter in place has just been expanded. Everything south of Hayden Lake Road and east of 15th Street in Coeur d'Alene under that emergency.
And I want to throw this out at you. Could there be multiple fires being set by these perpetrators to throw off emergency first responders? Could this be something, because I have to assume that they're talking about people coming off the mountain. There's no mountain in this area. This would be the area where I would think, I'm assuming now, that there would be mountainous terrain here, but not here where we see these blocks. This is like streets going up and down.
Like I said, I don't understand what they're showing here, so there's not enough information to.
Excuse me.
Right, let's let it play.
The emergency shelter in
Maybe they'll
place.
clarify it.
Right now, we will take you to a live shot here, if we can pull that up. Emergency responders standing by at Kootenai Health and at least one medical helicopter responding to the area. Again, all this information still coming in here. The FBI is on the way, still a very active scene. Here's a live look now at that press conference. You can see Kootenai County Sheriff's Office look like they're standing by to address the media and take to the podium. We're going to toss to our Mary Sheridan, who is at the scene there right now, and at the hospital. And Mary, what can you tell us there?
Hi, Jordan. I'm joining you now live on the north side of Kootenai Health. We're right off of I-90, and you can see behind me all of this smoke. You know, we were able to see this while we were driving to the scene over even near the Pines exit on I-90. We're joining you from the north side of the hospital. As I mentioned, over on the south side, we were just there momentarily. We saw at least 5 ambulances staging, ready to respond to whatever emergency they're getting ready for. And it was a pretty somber mood over there. We were asked to move over here to give the emergency responders room to take care of their community. But now we're back here. You're still looking at that smoke. It's a pretty big plume up there behind me. But we're just waiting for more information. We did learn that
this shot here makes a little bit more sense, and it doesn't jive with what they were showing with this news channel 4 News Now it was showing. But this makes a little bit more sense because you heard the sheriff talking about people coming off the mountain, people that are hiking and so forth coming off the mountain. And when he was asked how many casualties, he said, I don't know, because none of the personnel can get anywhere near there. They were all backed away. So if there are other people shot or down, it's unknown to them because you can't send personnel in there when they're taking heavy gunfire. This is a possibility. We don't know. Thank you, Simone, for this message, and we get it. It's all in capital letters. And she said, any chance it's the Army vet Travis Decker who killed his 3 young daughters in Washington State, Rock Island? We don't know. Your guess is as good as anybody else's. But thank you for putting that. No need to keep putting it in the chat. I saw it. I highlighted it. I thank you for putting that in there because, again, there's so many unknowns with this.
Spokane hospitals, at least the Deaconess Hospital, has been alerted to stand by, be ready for any patients that may need to be transported over there to their care. So this is an event that is impacting multiple communities so far.
Yeah, and Mary, I want to jump in here. We can see that smoke very obviously from your shot there. Talk about the conditions out there. We mentioned kind of gusty conditions in that area. Imagine fueling that smoke, but it doesn't look like crews have been able to get to that spot yet.
Right. It's a little bit breezy over here. The wind isn't too strong.
Jessica, if you're interested in calling in, we'd love to take calls from anybody that has intel of the terrain and of this area. So DutyRon.com, send me a message and I'll gladly send you a link to join. Thank you for that, and thank you for your service.
Able to smell a little bit of smoke earlier. We did see one ambulance leave the area. I can tell you that the lights were not on, neither were the sirens. So that's kind of the response that we've seen so far since we've been here. We got here just about 20 minutes ago.
Gotcha. And again, just to reiterate for people just joining us here, a fire believed to have been intentionally started. Firefighters responding to the area ambushed by a gunman. It's unknown of the injuries at this point. We do have crews on the ground here, and I wonder if we might be able to take a live look to the scene there. We do have several crews in the area. We don't have that scene up there. We will try to bring that to you in just a little bit. Governor Little releasing a statement just a little bit ago saying multiple heroic firefighters were attacked today while responding to a fire in North Idaho. This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. He says, I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families as we wait to learn more information. And again, we did just learn here just moments ago, the FBI on the way, assets on the way, calling this still a very active scene. We are on standby for a press conference at the Cherry Hill Fire Station 3 at 4:30. Let's take a live bump out there so you can kind of see where we're talking about in that area. Again, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office standing by. We're moments away from hearing from them an update on what's happening in that situation. Again, that smoke's still very active. You saw from Mary Sheridan out there still reporting. We're trying to get an update on the conditions of any of those firefighters who first responded to the scene. Again, very active. It looks like they are getting ready to.
By Kootenai Health, they had heavy gun.
They're not coming back.
Hospital personnel staged to take in these patients. There's a helicopter above. That's the Sheriff County helicopter also in the area. Lots of law enforcement personnel all coming to aid to take out, they said, to neutralize this suspect. They said if there's a clear shot, they're going to take that shot and they're going to neutralize the suspect. Jordan?
Yeah, and Hunter, and that seems to be the big emphasis is it's an unknown number of suspects. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. The sheriff had no indication of how many are out there. And as you mentioned, blending in with their surroundings, it's not believed that they're in a cabin or a home up there. They're hiding within the brush and kind of the wildlife out there.
I want to highlight this comment from our good friend Ben McCoy in Texas, down by Houston. He says, DutyRon and Ed, it's bad when our police officers are ambushed. It's bad. But it's far worse when firefighters and paramedics are ambushed because they can't defend themselves. Agreed.
100%.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben, for your continued support and friendship over the course of at least the last good year or so. So we thank you for always being here, always being a source of good information, and we appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, that's what I asked. If it's a home, what type of, where they're getting fire from, where they're getting fired at from. And they said it's from the brush, dense brush here on the mountain, which that's where the firefighters were responding to. 121, they responded to a half-acre brush fire here at Canfield Mountain. And actually, they're letting it burn. They can't get fire personnel. They can't get any resources on the mountain because it's just too dangerous. So they're going to let this fire burn throughout the night just until they can get that suspect neutralized. And I also want to make it clear to folks at home, this is a dangerous situation here in East Coeur d'Alene. They're telling people, stay in your homes if you're in this area. The shooter is still on the mountain, and it's also unknown if there are people stuck on the mountain. There might have been people hiking there today that are now sheltering place on the mountain. They said that could just be more individuals on the mountain. Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Hunter, we'll check back with you in just a little bit. And again, the most important information, police actively under sniper fire right now. As you heard, high-powered rifles still an active threat. We do have our Mary Sheridan on the ground there as well. We'll send things out to her as there. Mary, what can you tell us?
Jordan, I'm joining you from Ironwood and US 95. We're kind of looking at the south side of Kootenai Health right now. I'm going to take a step out of the way so that you can see the scene that we've been monitoring for about an hour. Emergency vehicles are staging in front of the hospital, getting ready to respond to this crisis. When I was out here earlier today, I think we counted around 5 ambulances, but since then, many of them have left. We've seen a few head out. Actually, just a few minutes ago, a fire truck. Oh, take a listen. And Jordan, this is the type of activity that we've been seeing off and on for about the hour that we've been here. Emergency vehicles are going in and out of this area. We've seen some ISP troopers, fire trucks, as you saw, ambulances, all responding to this crisis that's making national headlines.
And I'm going to ask you to take over the chat. I want to go to a local KHQ.com. They have live coverage. Ed, if you could just maybe just go over an overview for some of the new people that are coming in.
Yeah, so we're if you're just new to tuning in, we have a situation out in Idaho where a brush fire was set, it seems on purpose, to lure in the local fire department, at which time when the fire department set their personnel to suppress the fire, a sniper that was hidden up in the mountain under the brush opened fire on the fire personnel, appears to have killed 2 of the fire personnel, and was throwing shots down upon the emergency responders. And that's where we're at now. People are sheltering in place on the mountain. Others have evacuated. They don't know how many shooters, what type of weapons. Everything is just speculation at this time. The fire is continuing to burn because they can't fight it, under gunfire. So, and rightfully so, the fire department should not attempt to put out that fire under those circumstances, and they need to protect themselves and back out of that situation. Meanwhile, now law enforcement is mustering from all over Idaho and Washington State as well, assisting. In addition, the feds are responding with their assets.
Let's see, we got U.S. Marshals here. U.S. Marshals are experts at tracking. As we know, they are the premier tracking law enforcement federal agents. You got medics here. I see Canine rescue, just a whole bunch of assets. This is also KHQ.com from Spokane, Washington. So looks like a armored vehicle, Rescue 1 police vehicle going in there. And these are the right assets to have when you have certain situations like this. But when he's talking about high-powered, rifles and so forth, even these types of vehicles, it gets a little dangerous, right, Ed?
Well, it depends on, what their term high-powered is. Most of your hunting rifles are, not going to be able to penetrate that armored vehicle. But,
right.
If you have armor-piercing rounds, if you have, 50 cal or something to that degree, then you may be in a sticky situation.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
This is breaking news.
And we are cutting into programming this afternoon for live breaking news of an active shooter situation targeting firefighters in North Idaho. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Webb. Here's what we know at this hour. It all started at 1:30 this afternoon after investigators say a fire was set on purpose. We know multiple firefighters were shot. The total number at this point, we cannot confirm. We did talk with the chief, Pat Riley, at Northern Lakes Fire District, who said it sounds like multiple gunshot wounds to the chest. Their injuries at this point are unknown. It's happening in East Nettleton Gulch Road area. This is just to the east of Coeur d'Alene High School and to the north of the Ponderosa golf course there in that area. We know a heavy law enforcement presence scene is there. We saw law enforcement from Washington heading there. We saw SWAT from Spokane County Sheriff's Office heading there as well. Our own crews got to the scene just moments ago. Nonstop Local Giera Cottingham joining us live right now from Coeur d'Alene. Giera, what are you seeing and what are you learning from law enforcement tonight?
Yeah, John, since our team has arrived, there has been just multiple cops driving up and down 15th Street. We've talked with neighbors already who have been here since the scene got louder. And we were told, like you said, a fire was started, fire crews went to that fire, and then all of a sudden shots broke out and shots were aimed towards those firefighters, and then law enforcement came as well, and they were also shot at. So we're told there is an active shooter out here in Coeur d'Alene. Cops are looking for that active shooter up and down. We're not necessarily entirely sure where that shooter went, but we do behind me see a life flight helicopter behind us that could be prepping for what's to come as these police officers look for that shooter. And we are still learning details as we go, but they have this street blocked off where neighbors are standing on Nettleton and 15th Street. If you go further down towards the main intersections, there were about 50 cop cars, I would say, and ambulances lined up, staged.
And GR, stick with me for just a moment. Can you see the smoke coming from the fire in that area? Because we talked to Northern Lakes Fire District Pat Riley, and he said that they cannot get to that fire until the scene is secured. What are you seeing from the ground?
John, the smoke is just to the left of me. I'm going to have Will pan to it. Now, when we were driving in, we could see it very, very clearly from the freeway. It was very high up. So we do understand that this isn't a small fire that, fire crews responded to at all.
Right, J.R. Cottingham reporting live.
So Ed, it is kind of bordering a rural, a residential area. So maybe that we did have up was not that not off too much. So I don't know, because this is looking like the mountainous terrain is right off to the side.
Well, it showed that on the map, but the map had that
way off, right.
Pointed into the residential neighborhood as the scene of the fire.
Yeah. Let's take a, yeah, you're correct.
In Coeur d'Alene, you'll stay on the scene, get the latest information to us here in the newsroom. Giara, thank you. And again, if you're living in that area, have neighbors or relatives, friends in that area, the fire chief is recommending you to be highly alert, keep a close eye in case there are evacuations ordered. At this point, we aren't aware of any evacuations, but again, they need to get that scene secured, the active shooter situation secured before they can start tackling the fire. I spoke to Chief Pat Riley with the Northern Lakes Fire District just moments ago. Here's a portion of my interview.
Okay, Chief, can you just tell me what you know at this point?
I know the Coeur d'Alene fire, Northern Lakes fire, Kootenai County fire are all on the scene of an active incident, a wildland fire at the base of Nettleton Gulch in the Canfield Mountain area. Multiple firefighters are injured as a result of what was reported as gunshots. We don't know anything more as to this. Law enforcement from multiple jurisdictions are currently assisting fire with controlling the incident. No fire suppression activities are underway as a result of this armed assailant. And until that happens,
is there concern
we have to take it tactical.
Okay. Is there concern of the fire spreading at this point?
Yes.
Who gives a shit about the fire spreading? Let's get the guys that are shooting at these guys.
There is. To what extent, I can't say, in part because we can't get people to where the fire's at to control the fire.
Okay. So should people be prepared for evacuations at this point?
Not that I'm aware of, knowing the area and where, if it was going to move, it would be going. I know that a statement would be put out if there's any potential from Kootenai County Office of Emergency Management. So with that being said, right now, as always, people should be ever present and mindful of their conditions around them. And as soon as we have better intel on this, we would advise the public. Okay. At first opportunity.
Chief, you said you don't have a specific number of injuries, but you say multiple?
Correct. I genuinely do not have a number of casualties up there. They're all fire service personnel.
Okay. Chief, I wanted to talk to you personally because I know how close all you firefighters are up there. What's your immediate reaction when you first heard the news?
And I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to jump off of here and just go to this live. Where is it? Okay, yeah, this gives us a better view of it.
And possibly come on the breaking coverage with me so we can paint a clear picture of what they're dealing with, as we are now just a little over 2 hours before it gets dark for law enforcement. Obviously, you can't see.
It's like a cabin right here, secluded in here. But yeah, this is the best shot that we've seen thus far, right? Ed?
Yes.
As well, and that, I think, heightens the risk to our first responders there. These photos from Cynthia Gray. This is the fire that broke out right around just a little after 1 p.m. And this is the fire that crews were responding to at the time as they made their way in the vicinity, in the geography of Canfield Mountain, specifically on East Nettleton Gulch Road. They were targeted by a sniper. Multiple people hit. Let's go out live to Bell Lewis.
Hi, Sean. I just watched an officer walk by with a large case of water. Now, a lot of the officers here are in full tactical gear, and that is heavy, hot gear. So the heat out here not only making it difficult to fight the fire or even exacerbating those conditions, it's also making it hotter for these first responders out here trying to respond to this incident. So a lot of water going into the command post today. They've also set up several canopies for officers to sit under to get out of the sun, at least for a little while, as they're coordinating responses. And I want to talk a little bit about that coordination. Just a couple moments ago, I spoke with an air flight crew, a life flight crew, who told me that this is the sort of thing that they train and prepare for. So there is a lot of coordination going into this, and this is coordination that has been established through plans and processes to respond to events. Back to you, Sean.
Bell Lewis on our breaking team coverage. I want to go back to these photos because it's important. This area is dried out. You have a fire burning in a tree line. They're not even thinking about the fire because they're a threat to human lives out there. So it's a weird dynamic happening out there. But they are first and foremost keeping everybody in that area as safe as they can, including law enforcement, as they're also aggressively trying to track down who targeted firefighters responding to this fire. As you look at the photo of the terrain, it's up in the tree line there over the peak that you're looking at on East Nettleton Gulch Road. Let's bring Leslie back in. And Leslie, we're getting hotter from here, and I understand you have some new pictures to share with everybody.
Yeah, I do want to share these with you because I put that call out as well. Like, if you live in that area, if you know the terrain, if you've got photos, if you want to talk to us, please reach out to us because we'd like to hear from you. And hearing back from several people, I've got a couple pictures. This one from Lauren. She says this is from a little bit earlier today, but you can clearly see the billowing smoke there on Canfield Mountain. So again, that's one of our viewers' perspective. Another one is from Jeff sending in this one, and it kind of zoomed in a little bit. Like you said, Sean, they're not able to fight that fire right now because they're having to make sure that our firefighters are safe. And so Heidi checked in saying that driving from the lake to Rathdrum, they could see the fire very clearly, said it looks as though it's growing, and that would not surprise me at all. You mentioned also how dry and how hot it is, and it's only going to get hotter from here. I'm going to zoom in on the winds over towards North Idaho right now, and thank goodness, because yesterday it was still breezy. Friday was incredibly breezy. Today, we're seeing sustained winds, steadily blowing winds at just 7 miles per hour in Spokane. Now, I don't want to underplay that because any kind of a wind speed is going to pick up an ember from a fire and help to spread that very quickly. But just 2 days ago, we were seeing wind gusts anywhere from 25 to 35 miles per hour. Today, we are not seeing that. So again, that is good news as far as what we're seeing fighting that fire. As far as relative humidity levels go, how dry it is, we've got about 23% over towards Coeur d'Alene. It is dry out there. We've not dropped below that 20% mark in North Idaho. We are below that 20% mark, though, however, over towards Coeur d'Alene. So daytime highs today into the mid 80s, mid to upper 80s between Meade into Spokane, over towards Post Falls into Coeur d'Alene. We've got those wind speeds that are into the mid 80s. Currently seeing those temperatures at 84 degrees over towards Coeur d'Alene, 85 degrees right now into Post Falls. So those temperatures are above our averages, and they are going to get hotter from here. We now have excessive heat advisories that are in place for all areas shaded in orange. That does include Spokane, and then pushing into parts of North Idaho, which skirts right there into Coeur d'Alene. So Post Falls, again, backing into Liberty Lake, Spokane Valley, that I-90 corridor, all the way into central Washington. That is because those daytime highs for the next couple of days, and specifically, are set to shoot up into the mid to upper 90s, even triple digits, especially down through the basin. So that's going to make things very difficult also. So what our hope is that they're able to get some action on that fire, at least get a line around that. But of course, they can't do anything, Sean, right now because of the current situation, which we hope to see some improvement before nightfall. Like you said, nightfall tonight, just before that 9 o'clock hour.
All right, Leslie, thank you. This is just an absolute tragedy. I want to share with you that 2 people have been killed, likely firefighters. In fact, we might have some confirmation here in a minute on who specifically was killed. I can also tell you there are Other people wounded, we do not know how many. An active shooter situation, Canfield Mountain, East Nettleton Gulch Road. We saw a large contingency of law enforcement and vehicles in a procession responding to Kootenai Hospital. We have not.
So it seems like there's additional people wounded, but because they maybe not have made notifications to families and so forth, they're not going to be releasing information, or if it's just, something that they want to just have these people triage. We don't know what the extent of the injuries are. It could be severe injuries. It could be minor injuries, but they don't like to release this stuff unless their families are notified. So this is good information that we're getting locally. I got a lot of emails. A lot of people have sent us into DutyRon.com information from the actual local area. One of our longtime supporters, Dana, says she was blocked during this live stream because she was arguing with somebody in the chat. We'll get to that. Dana, don't worry about it. We'll fix it. We'll take care of it. It happens. Guys and girls, again, everybody's hot and heavy with this. We want to just keep the speculation to a minimal, because if we don't have accurate information, we're not going to report on it. So this, again, is active and ongoing. Any other thoughts, Ed, before we get ready to wrap up here? I want to just continue with this coverage, but
just prayers to the fallen firefighters and any other victims that are occurring. Prayers for this community. Let's get this person or persons and neutralized, and stop any further bloodshed. And let's get this under control as soon as we can.
Agreed. And I think that there is going to be a press conference shortly, an updated press conference. So we're going to stick around for that. Ed, if you got to run, I get it. I understand it. But I want to just keep going with this, because if there is a press conference, I want to get any additional details.
People don't know what is happening. Basically, the last official confirmation of information we had now is about 2 hours and 10 minutes old. That was the official news conference, brief in its nature, with Sheriff Bob Norris, where he said two people.
So this is a good question, because I saw this from many people. Reality Bites says, please explain to people why firefighters can't carry guns, because they're firefighters. They need to have their equipment on them, and they need, they're not law enforcement. They're firefighters. There's no reason for them to carry weapons, and they have enough of gear and things that they need to carry as it pertains to their duties that they utilize for being an active firefighter, right, Ed?
Yes, and there's just typically one group of firefighters that can carry firearms, and they're fire marshals, and they're sworn law enforcement. And usually, with us, when there's a fire here in New York City, NYPD goes and responds to the fire scene to protect the fire and firemen, as well as to handle crowd control.
Yeah. Little Patty says, I don't understand. Why are they picking on the firefighters? None of this makes sense. And it happens across across the United States. It happens where you see firefighters, EMS ambushed, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, you got to be outraged, because they're out there fighting fires and trying to keep property and life people safe. So it's just hard.
Were fatally shot as fire crews were responding to that fire in Canfield Mountain. Other people were brief in its nature, with Sheriff Bob Norris, where he said two people were fatally shot as fire crews were responding to that fire in Canfield Mountain. Other people were hit, didn't want to elaborate on the extent of injuries there, and really kept it brief, because he said, I don't want to misspeak or say anything that I don't know is absolutely factual. That's the scene that we're dealing with right now. The suspect or suspects continue to elude authorities. If they make an arrest or they neutralize a threat, they will confirm that in real time. In that news conference at 4:30, some of what the sheriff had to say.
Do we have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used. Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there, that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case. If these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation. You know, this is an interesting dynamic. This, you know, we have seen some of these things in a urban environment. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
Sheriff Norris, about 4:30 our time, in that news conference, and we want to be very careful with the language here. The sheriff said 2 people were killed. He was asked, were they firefighters? He says likely, but not official. I can tell you, and I'm just going to read this to you as it is. 54 minutes ago on Facebook, the International Association of Firefighters posted this message. I will read it to you verbatim. IAFF members were ambushed earlier today in a heinous act of violence in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. 2 of our brothers were killed in action while responding to a fire when they were attacked by a sniper who remains at large. A 3rd brother is in surgery. Please pray for him, our fallen, and their families, and for the law enforcement officers who are on the hunt for this suspect. Again, that statement posted on Facebook by the International Association of Firefighters. That is sickening, but factual, and that is where we are tonight. Let's take you back to Bradley Warren.
Sean, I want to walk you into the command post right now. We're getting a little bit of activity, law enforcement re-arriving, additional resources showing up here. And we're seeing a response from across not just the state of Idaho, but from across the region. We've got our friends from Border Patrol responding as part of mutual aid. We've had multiple life flight choppers. And again, here you're seeing officers in tactical gear, ATF with weapons out. We've got a huge amount of officers just arriving from the state of Idaho and from Spokane, all just coming in. And you're seeing just how big this apparatus is. This crews are continuing to battle, again, not just one situation, but 2 very active situations. The first situation was what started all of this. It was that fire call that was initially called in. The second that we are following now is that active shooter situation. And it is very unclear right now how that situation is unfolding as we continue to see an influx of officers from across not just the state, but federal departments respond. Over here has sort of become the staging area for the portions that look to have begun the search up the mountain. We've seen ATFs come in. We've seen little drones, I believe, and then mountain equipment, mountain gear. A truck came in that said Kootenai County Mountain.
And it looks like they are setting up a perimeter. This is from what we could see here. And I know you got to go. I just wanted to get your final words before I let you go. And then I'm going to set up with one of the locals to take her as a call-in. But what you're seeing here is, you know, they're tactically setting up a perimeter, and they're going to try to, as they say, try to tighten that noose and tighten these perpetrator or perpetrators, tighten them down and see what they can do. But your thoughts, Ed, before we run.
Yeah, they're going to control the access to the location, and they're going to set up teams, and they're going to make entry into the area and sweep upwards towards where they believe the shooters are located or were located, and then conduct their search. They're going to have those air assets up there as well shortly. You know, it's going to be, you know, sunset is going to be around 8 o'clock, a little after 8 over there, and they'll be able to get the thermal imaging and forward infrared from helicopters and drones to assist them. It does have a large canopy there, so you know, it just depends on what can be seen in there. And I just pray that, you know, there's no friendly fire incidents. There's no other emergency responders are going to be injured going after this this individual or individuals. So my prayers are out for the emergency responders that have already lost their lives and their families, and those that are injured, and those that are going to go after these perpetrators.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed. Thank you so much for being here on zero notice. I just got home. I was out with family, and when I came home, I saw this was all over my phone. And I know that you knew about it, but we were both Sundays or, family days for us. So, but yeah, we're on it, and we want to continue our coverage. So Ed, you got to run, but I'm going to continue on with this, and I think we're going to have Jessica join us, retired federal agent from locally in the area. So thanks, Ed.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. There goes Ed Wallace. Let's take a listen to the rest of this.
Tactical team where we were standing roughly 2 hours ago. We were asked to clear from because they were bringing in some more choppers. We saw a Department of Homeland Security chopper land. So a pretty big apparatus here of law enforcement responding right now as we are seeing more and more officers arrive as they are working against the sun. They are working against daylight right now to try to bring some sort of activity that is going on up the mountain right here to a close. We're on the scene here, and again, Sean, as you and I have already spoke more than once about, we do want to just 100% give thanks to our law enforcement officers, not only that are responding to this, but are also keeping front and center the fact that they are right now not only mourning the loss of two of their own, but working to keep our community safe. So very sad, but very active situation here in North Idaho as we are in the command post. More information is available, Sean. I'll bring it to you, but we'll leave it here for now, if that's okay with you, Sean.
All right, our Bradley Warren there at the command post. We have our team. We're not going anywhere for you. We are awaiting a news conference at 9:30 with the sheriff, other law enforcement agencies. The sheriff is the lead on this, best we know, and that is highly likely. The suspect not found at this hour. 2 people killed. And we just read to you a statement where we do believe they were firefighters that were killed and 1 other firefighter in surgery. Other than that, we don't know any information about anybody else wounded, but we do believe there are multiple other people wounded right now. Just an absolute tragedy in the Coeur d'Alene area tonight. And we are getting new statements from first responders all over our region that are hearing what some of their colleagues that they are proud of the work they do, usually don't want any recognition, and they are simply about doing the job. Well, they were doing their job today when, unbeknownst to them, they went right into sniper fire. We know that 2 people have been killed.
Yeah, excellent chat message. Thank you to the live chatters. And if you're not yet subscribed here to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. John K says, if you are in that area, stay alert, stay safe, make sure your doors are locked, and if you are armed, be ready inside your home. Don't go out. Definitely be vigilant. If there's anybody trying to come into your home, do what you got to do. And I know that a lot of people are armed in that area, but definitely stay safe. There's an order of a stay put order. You're not to be going out if you're in that area. So thank you for that, John K. Appreciate it. Let's take a listen to what they're talking about local here now.
Multiple other people injured. In fact, we have some new information near the hospital along US 95 at Kootenai Health. Ainsley Anderson live.
Sean, yeah, we did just speak with the hospital, and they tell us that the 2 that died had passed away prior to getting to the hospital. And as you said, there is 1 more in surgery. So there were 3 people transported in total. And as I said, the 2 that were sadly killed by this situation had died prior to making it here to the Kootenai Medical Center. And they said that they are working to get the other one through surgery, and they are doing everything that they can. And they said that they will continue to update us as they learn the status of that other individual. Sean.
It's absolutely heartbreaking to hear there. Ainsley Anderson at Kootenai Health. Ainsley, thank you so much. And I'm getting some new information from our control room. Can you repeat that? I didn't quite. Okay, well, let's go back over to John Webb in the poll studio. John.
Right now, I'm trying to get some video up from you. We got a drone perspective of the fire on Canfield Mountain. We're trying to get that video attached. I'll come back to the poll studio in just a moment here.
All right, John, we'll let you work on that. things are in flux here. It's coming in real time, and we're trying to do this as responsibly as we can and keep you as highly informed as we can as well. That's our goal. That's the way we operate here at Nonstop Local KHQ, and that will never change. I can guarantee you that. Leslie is standing by. She's tracking conditions because there is a fire burning. They're not even addressing the fire right now because there is an active sniper somewhere in the rural wilderness of Canfield Mountain. So it is about protecting lives. There's a shelter in place order right now. We've talked to numerous officials here throughout the afternoon.
Kathleen, thank you so much for buying 3 cups of coffee for Ed Wallace and myself. Appreciate that. It just came through on the Buy Me a Cup of Coffee app. So appreciate that, Kathleen. And thank you to all the super chatters.
And have learned that the firefighters were targeted, 2 people killed, multiple others injured. That is where we're at right now. And it's hard not to be emotional a little bit here because they were just doing their jobs, and they likely have families who are just absolutely heartsick tonight. Where are we going next? All right, let's bring in Leslie Lowe, continue our breaking coverage. And you have some pictures of the smoke plume from Canfield Mountain and the conditions, Leslie.
Yeah, so Sean, I do want to talk about the conditions because they've been incredibly ripe for fire danger out there. Jeff sending in this picture. This is Canfield Mountain. You can see that plume of smoke billowing.
This is one of the better shots that we have to give you guys a visual of the terrain in that local area from where that fire was set by the alleged perpetrators who fired upon the fire personnel who responded to this fire right here. And this is a look. This is the closest look that we can get at this time. And if anybody has anything from another agency or another news outfit, send it over to DutyRon.com. I'd like to look at it.
There again, I just want to remind everybody that their firefighters are not able to fight this fire at this time because we've got that active shooter out there currently. So Heidi saying she was driving from the lake into Rathdrum and that it looked like the fire had grown. So we would invite you, if you are in this area, if you can get a picture of this, please send us those photos. Jeff, thank you again so much for that one. Lauren also sending this photo in from a little bit earlier. So again, you can see that plume of smoke. It has been dry. It has been hot. Thank goodness that the winds have not been as big of a player as they have been over the last several days. Wind speeds today, and I'll zoom into Coeur d'Alene at about 5, maybe 10 miles per hour. Currently at 7 miles per hour with wind gusts that have been zilch, which is good. Again, any kind of a wind is going to pick up an ember from that fire and spread it quickly. It has been incredibly hot. We're above our averages. It's also dry out there. Now, mind you, we've got relative humidity levels that are sitting at about 23% right now. So I haven't dropped below that 20% mark, which is good. But again, we're still dry. We're at about 18% in Spokane. But like I said, those temperatures above our averages, we're sitting right now in the mid 80s around Coeur d'Alene. We're in the low end of the 80s for our friends in Post Falls into Liberty Lake. Those temperatures are only set to climb as we head over the next couple of days, which is why National Weather Service has issued those heat advisories for Monday and for Tuesday. When I see you back here in just a bit, Sean, we'll get a full look at that 7-day forecast. But really what the focus is for tonight is going to be the winds. It's going to be the heat and the hope that they can get a line on this active shooter situation so that firefighters can get in there and do what they need to do as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Leslie, let's stay with me here for a second. You and I have covered a number of major breaking stories over the years. Here's the scenario is challenging because we've got nightfall here looming. Yeah. And that creates a whole different perspective on the challenges that law enforcement will face in a densely wooded rural area to track down this sniper and hopefully arrest that person or multiple people. We do not know.
We don't know.
But they are searching for whoever's responsible for this crime, the killing of 2 people. And as we move forward, it's heartbreaking, Leslie. And you and
And I think you said it earlier, Sean, that it is one of those jobs that's when it does get a little bit trickier. And I mean, to bring it all the way down, it's just scary. It's a scary situation at this point, Sean.
Yeah, it certainly is, Leslie. And let's go back now to the Pulse studio with John Webb. John.
Hey, Sean, we're getting some new video just into the newsroom, kind of giving us better perspective of the fire. I want to show you the video we just got into the newsroom here. This is from our friends at Huggy Bear Photos. He puts his drone up every now and again and gets some shots for us. But you're looking at the fire looking east on Dalton, and right above the Canfield Middle School. You can kind of see a portion of it down there at the bottom part of your screen. So that would lead me to believe that that would be burning just to the north part of the East Nettleton Gulch Road area. We've covered a lot of wildfires over our years here, and I can tell you that this doesn't seem to appear as a major wildfire at this point. I did call the U.S. Forest Service just a couple of moments ago. There's a bit of confusion right now, as you can imagine, as they're dealing with the active shooter situation while also trying to tackle this wildfire. But they're trying to figure out which agencies can respond, when they can respond. You heard from Sheriff Bob Norris in our coverage here on the air, as well as the Pulse tonight, about not letting firefighters into the area until they can get this active shooter situation figured out. But new perspective tonight from the sky above on Dalton, looking towards Canfield Middle School and the ridgeline there at East Nettleton Gulch Road. Sean?
John Webb in the Pulse studio. John, thank you so much. It just is absolute tragedy here. We will keep our crews in place as long as it takes until we get, obviously, updates from fire crews and from law enforcement officials that they have either pinpointed the suspect or there's been an arrest made.
Here's a different vantage point. Looks like they're getting video and pictures coming in from some of the different local fires. This is from Canfield Fire. So this gives you a better shot of it. It's deeper into the mountains, as you could see here where my cursor is. So interesting as these photos are coming in, and thank you to everyone who's emailing us, sending us information and sending us stuff from local. There's a lot of locals, a lot of Coeur d'Alene local folks in Idaho that are emailing us on DutyRon.com. So thank you for that.
Here is a picture of the Canfield fire. This was sent in to us. We appreciate you, especially if you're in that vicinity. If you have a lay of the land, if you have knowledge of that area, any photos that you can share with us right now, any video that you may have captured, if you have trail cameras in that area, check them. You may be the key to getting somebody in custody and protecting lives further throughout the evening. So if you have a Ring camera, you have a trail camera, please check that immediately. It can make all the difference. That is where we're at right now, as they are searching for that sniper that targeted fire crews in the 1 o'clock hour. There is a news conference with Sheriff Bob Norris. That is coming up at 9:30. We will carry that live for you in its entirety and continue to have updates here on Nonstop Local. Leslie's tracking the forecast. We are heating up. That's not good for the fire, but they are not battling that fire at all. In fact, they were forced by sniper fire to back off that fire line because lives were at risk and lives have been lost over the last several hours. We do know that one person is in surgery right now. Don't know the extent of injuries. We have not received any official confirmation about the other injuries or the extent of those injuries to people that were hit by sniper fire as they were in that immediate vicinity. East Nettleton Gulch Road is the area. Here is a map as we pull from Spokane to the crime scene to show you the perspective. You see US 95. That is where Kootenai Health is located. That is where our Ainsley Anderson is reporting live from. Then you see to the right of East Nettleton Gulch Road, that is Canfield Mountain there, and you can see it gets rural pretty fast. That is the area that they are surrounding. That is the area they are searching to try and find that suspect. The 911 call came in pretty quickly, and it escalated fast. Here's a portion of that 911 call.
Okay, we have an active shooter location. BC3 is down. BC1 is down. Corpsman Engine 3 officer and engineer are pinned down and wounded. I'm pinned down by BC1's rig. Do not come up here. We need law enforcement up here immediately.
That's heavy duty right there. I don't know how much more shocking that could be, but that's audio credit of Broadcastify. And wow, when you hear that, it shocks you to your
The
core.
911 call came in pretty quickly, and it escalated fast. Here's a portion of that 911 call.
Okay, we have an active shooter location. BC3 is down. BC1 is down. Corps Line Engine 3 officer and engineer are pinned down and wounded. I'm pinned down by BC1's rig. Do not come up here. We need law enforcement up here immediately.
It's in the area. Do not respond in. 2 battalion chiefs down. 2 officers injured.
Some law enforcement right now. There's an active shooter zone. They're shot. This BC3 is down. BC1's down. Everybody shot up here. Law enforcement. Code 3 now up here.
The 911 call.
I got to tell you that's shocking even for me to hear. Again, that was actual broadcastify audio from the scene. Just gives you an idea of how horrific, how frightened that firefighter was. Giving a description of he's pinned down. Unit 1 is shot. Unit 2 is shot. We'll listen to it one more time and then we'll just continue on with the coverage.
Okay, we have an active shooter location. BC3 is down. BC1 is down. Corps Line Engine 3 officer and engineer are pinned down and wounded. I'm pinned down by BC1's rig. Do not come up here. We need law enforcement up here immediately.
It's in the area. Do not respond in. 2 battalion chiefs down. 2 officers injured.
Some law enforcement right now. There's an active shooter zone. They're shot. This BC3 is down. BC1's down. Everybody shot up here. Law enforcement. Code 3 now up here.
The 911 call there, as I was searching for some new information, I'm expecting a message here to try to get some confirmation on something. But that was the 911 call, and you could almost hear it escalate in real time there as you listen to that audio of an active shooter situation.
Anyone with pictures or photos or anything local, send it over on DutyRon.com. I'm actually trying to get Jessica into the studio, but she's having technical difficulties. But if you are local, you have local footage, or if you have anything from the local area or anything that you could add to this conversation, send me a message on DutyRon.com and I will send you a link to join. Yeah, those voices sound young. Those voices sound horrified. They sounded in utter fear. That is the sound of what it sounds to be in battle, taking on shots, taking on gunfire. So yeah, go over to DutyRon.com and send me a message. But yeah, it's just, it's really shocking to hear it.
So we have several reporters out there at Canfield Mountain. We will leave Ainsley at Kootenai Health as we show you video. More and more law enforcement coming in. Kootenai County is the area that we're talking about. They have had several choppers land. In fact, they moved us as media back about 40 minutes ago to land another helicopter at that location. Life Flight did respond, as our John Webb reported to you on the Pulse throughout the afternoon. A serious situation turned deadly, and they are out in force. Multiple agencies searching for a sniper. And as the sheriff held a news conference at 4:30, he said they were still taking fire at that time. Our breaking coverage continues throughout the evening on Nonstop Local KHQ. I'm Sean Owsley.
So you're looking at live shots from the local area down in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, County, Idaho. These images that we're seeing here, I mean, like people are saying in the chat, this should not be happening in 2025, but unfortunately, this is where we're at, and this is what's happening.
East Nettleton Gulch Road, about 1 p.m., firefighters responding to a call of a fire. We don't know if there was a coincidence that there was somebody armed and ready for them, or that fire was set on purpose to lure the firefighters in. That question will be asked at a 9:30 news conference with Sheriff Bob Norris. They have confirmed they will hold a news conference at the Emergency Operations Center in Hayden at 9:30. We will carry it for you in its entirety. What we can tell you right now is the command post is active, multiple law enforcement agencies. Let's go back to Bradley Warren.
Yeah, Sean, I want to walk you through right now some of the mutual aid that is responding. I'll just show you here the tactical vehicles that have been brought in, tactical SWAT tanks that have been brought in. These ones have Washington plates right here on it. The ones next to us have the Idaho license plates. Again, huge apparatus responding from across the region. We've got a helicopter currently landed here. Excuse me, I apologize for that. We've got a Life Flight helicopter that's
I just want to let you know these are heavy armored vehicles that can take on gunfire from various caliber long rifles, and they are here and they are ready to move in once a location is pinpointed of where these perpetrators are. You heard Sheriff Norris earlier on his press conference. Sheriff Norris said in a press conference, if you can get a shot, take it. I don't know how many of you have been here with us from the beginning when we started about an hour and a half ago, but we played that press conference from earlier today, and Sheriff Norris said, take the shot. If you have it, take it.
I'll just show you here the tactical vehicles that have been brought in, tactical SWAT tanks that have been brought in. These ones have Washington plates right here on it. The ones next to us have the Idaho license plates. Again, huge apparatus responding from across the region. We've got a helicopter currently landed here. Excuse me, I apologize for that. We've got a life flight helicopter that's landed right here. That one's on standby. Earlier this evening, when we first arrived on scene, Sean, there was a Department of Homeland Security chopper, and I'm not sure if you can see it. I'll have Gabe try and show you it. It's currently one of the choppers that is still up circling this blaze right back here, Gabe. The white chopper currently over the mountain and that plume of smoke. Sean, like you were saying, two scenes that we are watching from the command post right here, that active fire and then that active shooter situation. And of course, that fire was what called in these resources to begin with. Fire officials, fire crews working to put out a brush fire, and then an expanding into an active shooter situation. As we continue to see the command post here grow in size, you see again how significant these vehicles are that have been brought in, because Sheriff Knowles essentially said that there was some sort of sniper-esque or high-caliber rifle that was being used. That was the fire that they were taking on. When these vehicles pulled up, we saw people get out of them with their helmets on, with the tactical gear on, with the big weapons drawn. We've got dogs here now. We've got mutual aid responding from across the region, Spokane County Police, Spokane Police. We've got our friends from ISP here. We've got Homeland Security.
Jessica, I see you backstage, and I guess you have a friend in the chat that's telling me that that you're in the backstage. I just want to let this local coverage play a little bit, and then I'll have you come on in just a minute. So thank you for being here, Jessica.
We've got Border and Custom Patrol. We have ATF, all centered around the command post, which is right here. And that gray truck right there, that is one of the communications command posts that's helping bring the comms to all of the fire and police departments that are responding to this. So right here, this is the police focal point, the law enforcement focal point. On the other side of this dirt hill right here, there is the wilderness response focal point. So we're seeing the ATVs that have responded. We are seeing the little cat vehicles, the drones. If you look right there in the blue, that's Teresa Fuller, who is responding as part of mutual aid from Spokane. Just though in the last 15, 20 minutes, we saw a fresh batch of officers responding to this. So we are continuing to follow this here from the scene, a very large presence here in North Idaho. Sean?
All right, Bradley, thanks so much. Let's say go to a different vantage point in our Belle Lewis. Belle.
Hi, Sean. So the weather is getting a little bit cooler. There is a noticeable difference.
All right, I want to pause it there because we have Jessica joining us from backstage. So thank you to Jessica local joining in. She's joining just by audio, and I appreciate you being here, Jessica. Just tell the audience a little bit about your background and where you are. You don't have to say exactly where you are, but where you are as it pertains to this shooting incident today. Jessica, thanks for joining.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Big fan of your channel for a long time. I grew up in Spokane, which is it is right on along the side of Washington and Idaho borders. So Coeur d'Alene is actually kind of a smaller, more of a touristy town because they have a lot of tourist attractions, and because our cities are so close to each other, they're very codependent on one another.
Right.
Our sheriff's departments, our firefighters, our life fleet, those kinds of resources are commingled a lot of times because that's just kind of the way it has to go. Spokane has a population of about 230,000 people, whereas Coeur d'Alene is not so much. So this really hits to the heart of me because that's my hometown,
Right.
but also because I'm a former law enforcement officer myself. I've worked in search and rescue. I have very good friends that are volunteer firefighters that are in Idaho. And the very first thing I did was, of course, reach out to them and say, hey, are you okay?
Right.
You know, I want to make sure you're not one of the two. And if I can help you, please let me know. I don't have any insider information as far as that's concerned, but Idaho is a kind of almost like the last Wild West, if you will.
Right.
We have a lot of people who are maybe anti-government. You know, they might be more keep to themselves kind of thing. And then there's also one of the largest white supremacy camps, if you will, in Hayden Lake. And of course, you know, not maybe some of the younger people won't remember, but there was a lot of problems with Ruby Ridge, with Randy Weaver.
Yes.
And so this is kind of a volatile area.
Jessica, I wanted to ask you because I saw a lot of it in the chat, but I don't like to go based on conversations in the chat. You're a resident of Coeur d'Alene, and there was somebody who just sent the super chat. I think his name was Kevin Martin. He said, "I'm a citizen of Coeur d'Alene and Hayden. And we are." He says, "We are aware in both cities. Everyone is prepared and praying for the wounded." I can answer any questions in the chat. Now, I wanted to just clarify that, of course, we don't know who's responsible for this, but you know the lay of the land there. You know that, you know, there's probably good and bad people residing within. Just like in any communities, you have pockets of good areas and pockets of bad areas and so forth. But anything that was maybe talked about in the days prior or recently as it pertains to why someone would go and want to target firefighters? I mean, maybe assuming that law enforcement would respond with them. Maybe they were targeting law enforcement and targeted firefighters, unbeknownst to the guys or whoever was doing the shooting. I don't know. I'm just talking here, but at the end of the day, you know, you have a better grasp of what's going on or what the makeup of the area that this incident took place in. So that's why I wanted you to come on up and kind of give us a little bit of your thoughts as it pertains to this exact area.
Sure, and I hope I didn't mislead anybody.
No.
I grew up in Spokane, and I was a lifelong resident until I joined the military, and then I went to the law enforcement from there. I have not lived in Spokane for about 20 years, but I do know the layout of the land.
Right.
I do know the makeup of the people, and I do still have friends that are local. So I don't want to misrepresent myself in that way. But I can tell you that there are people who go to Idaho. It's been my experience. Do so because they want to be left alone. They want to live on the land. They want to live their life. They want to be in peace. They just don't want to have any problems. They don't want to have any social media. They want to live off the grid. They want to be very much, you know, self-sufficient. And that can breed really, really awesome things, which is a majority of the people I've encountered in Coeur d'Alene, in Idaho, are the very wonderful people that just want to live their lives and just kind of like stay out to the side and just do their jobs, right?
Right.
And then there's the unfortunate secular few percent that want to disrupt government, that hate any kind of interference in their lives with government. And they also are drawn to that location because Idaho is very rural, similar to, Montana or other places. So as far as I can say, I have not seen any kind of rhetoric or any kind of like chatter
Right.
about people who wanted to do this to the firefighters. My only guess is that they just see firefighters as part of the government, or they see this kind of, disruption as getting their name in the paper. It's disgusting. I can't stand it. But unfortunately, that's just kind of the world we live in. So when I offered my comments in the chat, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because firefighters are heroes. They're not people who come and take people away to jail or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and being former law enforcement, we work very closely with firefighters and ambulance workers and social workers and those kind of people. We come to love them as they're our own family. And when one of us gets targeted like that, it's just so unimaginable that it's just I still can't help but be shocked, even though I probably shouldn't be shocked at this point, but I am, because they don't have any defenses, like you were saying. They don't wear bulletproof vests.
Right.
And that's the other reason that a lot of people get upset about, well, why aren't the paramedics here? Well, there is an active shooter. They have to be safe. It's kind of like a, it's kind of like a, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you want to keep them safe, but you want to get help for the people. But they have to understand that we're not just going to let our brothers and sisters, first responders, go into a situation that's scary or, violent.
There's dangerous. Look,
Yeah.
call comes in, police, fire, any type of 911 call comes in. We go to the location. We go to where the danger is, and that holds true for first responders, police officers, firefighters, paramedics. They're there to help, and that's what makes this so egregious. Is that firefighters are there to put a fire out that was started by said perpetrators, right? And they show up on the scene and they take on gunfire. And in this instance, they're taking on multiple rounds of gunfire. And we heard that scanner audio from the clip that I just played, and makes the hair on your arm stand up. And it's something that you don't expect going to work as a firefighter or as a first responder. When you're looking at the police role, that's an inherent risk that we take just by taking on the job. I worked for 20 years in the NYPD, responded to September 11th, and many other high risk, high profile calls over the course of my 2 decades. But when you put that uniform on and you're in the locker room and you put a gun, your gun belt on, and you're putting on a bulletproof vest, you have that, that risk is there. But for firefighters, they're just going out there to do their jobs, EMS, paramedics, and so forth. So it's what makes it really, really horrific. I want to thank you for being brave and to coming up here with us and giving us your insight, because it's very valuable. And I can't thank you enough for being, like I said, being brave enough to come up in such a horrific situation. This is not indicative of the good people who live in Coeur d'Alene. I say to myself that, sometimes we get this, especially New York, gets this bad rap. Oh, I'm not going to go to New York because I don't want to get robbed or mugged. It's not how it is. New York is a great state. It's a great place to live. It's just that there's pockets of bad people no matter where you go. Evil knows no boundaries. And bad people know no boundaries. If they want to commit a crime or if they want to do something horrific, they're going to do it, whether it's in the mountains or in the cities. So it happens all over the place. But Jessica, any final words before we let you go?
Well, the only thing that I'll say is the professionals that work in law enforcement, that work for Customs and Border Protection, that work for the Sheriff's Department and, natural resources and the national parks, they're the utmost professionals. They're amazing people. They are, salt of the earth. They are the types of people that you want on the situation, and they can answer this call. So that's the only thing I'll say. I'll say thank you so much for your service, sir, and thank you for having me on your beautiful program. I'm a longtime attendee, and I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you. Hey, somebody in the chat had a question for you. How big of an area is where this happened, population wise? Is it highly populated, or is it more of, maybe a lower population area?
It's probably dependent upon when the tourist season is, because right now it's starting to ramp up with because Lake Coeur d'Alene is a beautiful lake, and they have a huge golf course. They have beautiful resorts. They have beautiful, just everything, the natural environment. So right now it's probably more populated than not. But in the off season, Coeur d'Alene is I would say probably about maybe 15,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very quaint. Most of us locals will go there on off season and we get great rates on their beautiful spas and hotels. But they definitely have a beautiful people who come back every year. Let's
Right.
just say that.
Right.
But right now, it's probably as full as it's going to be. So if somebody wanted to, for example, disrupt their financial situation, this would be the kind of stuff that would happen that would do the worst damage.
Wow. Yeah, someone in the chat said it's around 58,000
Yeah.
population. So it's pretty decent. Hey, Jessica, again, I want to thank you. I want to just continue on with the coverage and then wrap it up. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for supporting. And again, we appreciate the insight.
Of course.
All right.
Stay
Take
safe
care.
out there.
All righty. Take care. There she goes, Jessica. Hey, I wanted to also just take a listen and see if there was any updates. So I'm going to listen in a little bit more here.
First responders, the IAFF has confirmed on Facebook that 2 killed were firefighters. They put another brother in surgery. We know at least one other person was injured. We should get some clarification, and we will come back on the air for you and on our stream at 9:30 tonight with the Sheriff's News Conference and breaking coverage and break in with coverage as it is warranted for any new developments. Our team is staying put. I'm Sean Owsley. Join you a little bit later this evening. Our hearts go out.
Let's see what we got. Let me go to the chat. Thank you for being here. Sister Sherry, thank you for being here. Let's see. Joey Brooklyn.
Nonstop Local has news for.
Whoa. Joey Brooklyn's in the chat. Good to see you, Joey. Thank you, Dawn Marie, for being here. Moderators, replay viewers, super chatters, we greatly appreciate you. Again, at 1:30, or they say 1:21 p.m. local time, Idaho. That's Mountain time. 1:21 p.m. Firefighters responded to a brush fire, and when they responded, they immediately were met with gunfire, and that in itself is just horrific. Gunfire for any firefighters or anybody to take on is just something that they're not expecting. We heard the scanner audio, which was just horrific. We played it here probably about 15, 20 minutes ago. It was enough to make you just want to oof, it was really bad. And we played it, and it was not something that was pleasing to hear. I know that there's a couple of updates. I think someone said K, where was it? I'm trying to look at the chat real quick. Let's see where we have the updates coming from. I don't want to lose this KHQ. Hold on a second. Let me copy and paste it. Okay, got it. Stand by. Let's see. Courtesy of Mark Lathrop. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
Of an active shooter situation in Idaho. The Shoshone County Sheriff's Office saying they're dealing with a shooting suspect in the city of Coeur d'Alene, just a half hour from Spokane, Washington. Idaho Governor Brad Little calling this an attack on firefighters. Posting on X, quote, multiple heroic firefighters were attacked today while responding to a fire in North Idaho. This is a heinous direct assault on our brave firefighters. I ask all Idahoans to pray for them and their families.
All right, I'm going to take a look at KUTV. Someone's saying that they have better coverage, KUTV. So let's take a peek at it real quick. We'll do it live on the air here. KUTV. Let's see what they got. Let's see what KUTV has.
Tomorrow. All right, let's go to back to the weather now. It is still very hot, very dry. It's just the beginning calm.
Here's a satellite map of rain. We have some to the west of the Great Salt Lake. The question chances Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's looking like it's between a 30 and 40% chance on these days that we might get hit with a thunderstorm. Also a little bit breezy.
All right.
And the plus
that was a
two
big
says
fail right there. Let's get back to KUTV. KHQ.com. Let's take a peek and see what they got going on. And then we'll get ready to wrap it up because we can't stay around for 2 more hours for this press conference. The press conference is, they're on Pacific time, so that's 3 hours behind us. So it's going to be a little difficult to catch that press conference. But let's listen to the presser from earlier today and listen to what the sheriff has to say. This is Sheriff Norris.
We're going to go ahead and get started. It's approximately 4:35. Today is June the 29th. Everybody okay? Can you hear me okay? Okay, my name is Robert Norris. I am the Sheriff of Kootenai County. This information is very preliminary and is subject to change. We want to give you and the public as much information as quickly as possible. So at approximately 1:21 p.m. this afternoon, we received reports of a fire on the east side of Canfield Mountain. Fire assets responded to the scene, and at approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon, it was reported that firefighters were receiving shots fired at them. We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities, and we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. And that's really all that we know as of right now. We don't know who the suspects are. We don't know how many there are. So I know that it's very, very, very early, and I don't think that any questions would yield anything. But Chief, do you have anything? Was I accurate in what we were reporting?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take a couple of questions, but I'd like to remind you that's very, very preliminary, and I'm not so sure we're going to have any additional information.
But original KXOY, the 2 deaths, are they fire personnel that have died?
We know that there's 2 deaths, and we believe that they are, yes.
Have they been taken off the mountain? Or
Yeah, no, we're still in that process.
Ian Brown, Crime 2. You mentioned that there were multiple people that have been shot. Do you have an exact number at
No,
the moment?
nope, we do not.
Alex Douglas, the spokesman. How are you going about evacuating people from the mountain or getting personnel out of there who are being shot at? I mean, what does that process look like?
Right now, we're developing a plan to be able to suppress these individuals' firefighting capability. And when we get that under control, when we have an opportunity to suppress that, then we will continue our removing of people who are on the mountain, who are on for a hike, or public safety personnel, or people who live on the backside of the mountain.
Do we have any indication of what type of firearms are being used in this from the suspect?
Well, it appears that modern day sporting rifles are being used. It appears that high-powered rifles are being used. Yes.
How many acres is this fire?
I don't know.
Started out as a half acre.
Do we know about how many minutes after he offered fire the fire crews arrived?
Well, we got the first call at 1:21, and we have reports that they were taking shots at about 2 o'clock. I don't know what time they arrived on scene. I don't know what time the firefighters arrived on scene, but we can get you that information at the next briefing if you'd like.
How many engines were on scene when shots were fired? You know that? 3? We wait 3. Thank you.
And just to be clear, the people who responded, they were wildland firefighters or they were local firefighters fighting wildland?
City of Coeur d'Alene and Kootenai Fire Rescue.
Yes,
when the shots were fired, were they at an accelerated rate or was it a single shot?
Oh no, we're taking rapid fire up there. In the back.
You keep referring to individuals. Are you referring to the casualties or like even?
Well, we don't know how many suspects are up there, and we don't know how many casualties that there are. Yeah, I suspect we'll have people coming forward that maybe are stuck up there that drove themselves to the hospital, but I suspect that would likely be the case.
We have confirmation that there are people stuck up there.
People are still coming off the mountain, so it would only be safe to assume that the mountain is not clear.
As of right now, is there an active threat to?
Absolutely, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, he was not even. He didn't even hesitate when there was asked, "Is there a threat currently?" Now, again, this was hours ago. This press conference, but he clearly stated 100% that there is still a threat. These perpetrators are not, or perpetrator, there could be one or more, are not in custody. They are not apprehended, and they are still out there.
As of right now, is there an active threat to?
Absolutely, there is.
Has there been a shelter-in-place order put forth?
Yes, there has, and I would encourage all of you to tell people to stay away from the area. Do not come to the area. Stay away from the area. This is going to be, if these individuals are not neutralized quickly, this is going to be likely a multi-day operation.
Here's a question. So is the suspect in a home up there? Are they, do we have an indication of where they might be on the mountain?
Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open firing?
he was asked, is the suspect in a home? And he said, we do not believe they are in a home. So he already is stating here that is one or more perpetrators and that they're not in a home. He believes that they are in the bush, on the mountainside in the bush. He said that he does not believe that they were in a home, and he has to have valid information to say that. Hey, Rack, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending. They're heavy at this time. Yeah, we don't believe that they're in a home up there at this time.
So they're just kind of out in the open firing.
Well, they're heavy brush, well prepared. So yeah, they're blending in with their surroundings. Go ahead.
Did you mention that the person that called it in is most likely the shooter?
No, we didn't say that. We said the first call was at 121 on a fire, and then we started receiving over our radio that the firefighters were receiving shots fired from the mountain.
Sure. Has anything happened like this before? And if so, do you think you and other law enforcement entities will be more aware going forward?
This is an interesting dynamic. This, we have seen some of these things in a urban environment where firefighters were in a urban setting, putting out firefighters during civil disobedience, getting shot at. I've seen that. I can't say that I've seen it in a rural setting myself, but I have seen it in an urban setting frequently where firefighters do get shot at in, civil unrest. Yes.
So do we know if it's one or two shooters?
We don't know if there's 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, we don't know.
Just for the fire itself, firefighting efforts, is it contained? Is it still spreading? What is that?
Well, it's gonna keep burning because we can't put a lot of resources on there right now. But Chief,
We won't put any resources out there until the threat is neutralized.
Do we have like a risk of wildfire? Say, is it high winds?
He said, we will not put any resources up there until the threat is neutralized. So that fire will burn without any resources on it unless they can get it from the air. And I'm not sure if they can even do that safely.
Not going to feel the fire or anything? Or is it...
We're at a high state right now in wildland, so it'll calm down as the evening progresses, but then it'll pick back up tomorrow.
Thank you.
And hopefully this is neutralized by then.
Sheriff Norris, how are you feeling about this overall from when you first got the call to just now from what you
you know what? It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they are not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender.
See, again, when he first said this, Ed and I were kind of critical about it because here's the sheriff stating if anybody has a clear shot to take it. And this is Sheriff Bob Norris, and he's basically saying at a press conference, you got the shot, take these fuckers out. And it's pretty powerful, man. It's pretty powerful. Let me know in the chat what your thoughts are on that, and how powerful of a statement is that. You don't hear that often from sheriffs.
now from what you
You know what? It's going to be the tough next couple hours. Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that somebody has a clear shot and is able to neutralize, because they're not at this point in time showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
I've seen several life flight helicopters coming in and out. Are there any other air resources that are being used at the moment?
Oh yeah, we have our Emergency Operations Bureau that is containing assets, and whenever a situation goes beyond the local resources, which this has. Like I said, we have other counties that are here. We have federal authorities that are here, and we will neutralize this threat. So,
Sorry, I know we touched on this with the suspects. We know there is at least one, but you said possibly others. Is it coming from multiple different locations?
All right, let me just check quickly. Stand by.
This is breaking news.
And we are cutting into programming this afternoon. Firefighters in North Idaho. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm John Webb. Here's what we know at this hour. It all started at 1:30 this afternoon after investigators say a fire was set on purpose. We know multiple firefighters were shot. The total number at this point, we cannot confirm. We did talk with the chief, Pat Riley, Northern Lakes Fire District.
Trying to get it live.
Was found nearby. Additional information will be provided during the scheduled press briefing at was found nearby. Additional information will be provided during the scheduled press briefing at 9:30 p.m. Also, and I think this is a determining factor at this time, the shelter in place is being lifted. However, there is still an active wildfire on Canfield Mountain. Residents in the area are advised to be prepared and ready should further action need to be taken. Follow official sources for the most up-to-date information. That news release coming in to us about 7 minutes ago. Again, a deceased male with a weapon nearby has been found on Canfield Mountain. Additional information will come at the news conference, which we will carry start to finish in its entirety at 9:30.
Again, I saw
At this
that
time,
in the
shelter in
chat, but I
place
just don't like to
is
jump
being
on it
lifted,
real quick.
so you
So
can
it
read
looks like
between the lines that they feel the.
I'm going to pause it here. This is from the Kootenai County, Idaho. This evening, members of the SWAT team located a deceased male on Canfield Mountain. A firearm was found nearby. Additional information will be provided during the scheduled press briefing at 9:30 p.m. That is Pacific time. At this time, the shelter in place is being lifted. However, there's still an active wildfire. So this definitely seems like the perpetrator who fired upon these firemen was found deceased. Now, whether he self-inflicted that gunshot wound or he was shot by members of SWAT is unknown at this time. But residents of that local area have to be breathing a sigh of relief as it pertains to this right now. So this is coming straight from the sheriff's office. Sheriff Bob Norris, that's who we were just listening to. This is a letterhead from the sheriff's office stating that a male was found, a firearm was found, male was found deceased, and a firearm was found nearby.
Area is more secure than it was just a short time ago. As we continue to follow this breaking story, let's bring in John Webb in the Pulse studio. So, John, some key information coming out there. They have not confirmed it's the shooter, but they have confirmed that it was a male found deceased with a firearm nearby, and they have lifted the shelter-in-place order.
Yeah, Sean,
and I want to just say, lifting the shelter in place, they have to have strong info that this, in fact, was the shooter, because if it wasn't, if they weren't sure, if they weren't 100% sure, they wouldn't lift, I would hope, they wouldn't lift the shelter in place, because that is a huge liability if they lift that shelter in place and we still have wild people shooting out and about. So for them to lift that shelter, they have to have really good data.
Contacted the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, Lisa, the administrative director for Sheriff Norris. She took my phone call. She's going to get in touch with Public Information Officer, see if we can get that confirmed with as far as if the suspect has been detained or if they have any information regarding that. In fact, I'm going to take this phone call right now. Sean, can I just toss it back to you for a couple minutes?
I'll take it, and you let us know when you're ready if you get some key developments there. So we're going to All right, we want to take you back. Obviously, there would be some activity at the command post and in that area. Let's go back, continuing our breaking coverage tonight with Belle Lewis.
So just now at command coverage, we have some movement of some of those big vehicles that we saw earlier, the SWAT vehicles, and also some of that multi-law agency response that we were seeing earlier. That's starting to disperse. Groups are starting to head out. In fact, I'm just going to step out of camera really quickly here, get you an idea. We still have a lot of law enforcement in the area, but we do have some of those big police vehicles, big law enforcement vehicles moving out of the way. Now, as the situation continues, we'll probably see more and more vehicles in this area start to clear in preparation for that press conference later tonight. Back to you, Sean.
Belle Lewis there at the command post, and now you can see vehicles moving around. So that news conference will be at the Emergency Operations Center at Hayden. I would imagine be with Sheriff Norris and other law enforcement agency about what they know, confirming the new information. Who is that deceased male that was found on Canfield Mountain with a firearm nearby? And then, of course, our hearts are with those at Kootenai Hospital. Let's take you there live, and Ainsley Anderson. Ainsley.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to just pause that and let it play in the background. I just want you guys to listen to the 911 call. Actually, it wasn't the 911 call. It was the call from the firefighters who were pinned down on the mountain.
The shooter zone. PC3's down, PC1's down. Everybody shot up here. Law enforcement, come up here. Upper parking lot. Is that upper parking lot? Up on the good parking lot. We need law enforcement up here immediately. Law enforcement up here immediately. We need law enforcement to get up here. We could possibly get the two wounded out. I'm pinned down behind Battalion 1's rig. It's clear to me that this fire was set intentionally to draw us in.
Are kind of reconvening, talking to one another. And also, I don't know if you can see, there are some community members out here who have brought American flags to show support. They are coming out to watch these emergency vehicles drive by. Obviously, this is a very tragic situation, but as we are learning.
I just want to stop this to show some of the people who are watching from outside of that Coeur d'Alene area. These are good, law-abiding citizens that are out there cheering on the firefighters and first responders. This is a community of good people. Good always outweighs the bad. And I want to make it clear. I want to make it clear to everybody who's watching the replay or watching the live coverage. The good outweighs the bad. Yes, there could be pockets of bad people in any area. But look at this. This is an example of good, law-abiding American citizens here, and you could see them waving American flags. So, before we get carried away with emotions and there's this group there, there's that group there, this could be a possibility of one bad actor. If it's more than one bad actor, we'll hear about it. But look at this, folks. Look at what you see in here. People waving American flags and cheering on the first responders.
To show support, they are coming out to watch these emergency vehicles drive by. Flags to see they are kind of reconvening, talking to one another. And also, I don't know if you can see, there are some community members out here who have brought American flags to show support. They are coming out to watch these emergency vehicles drive by. Obviously, this is a very tragic situation, but as we are learning, there is still one person that we don't know the status of, but the two officers that were killed on their way to in this situation here at the Kootenai County Medical Center, they are looking like they are prepping for a little bit of a processional here. Sean.
It's a heartbreaking scene there outside of Kootenai Hospital. Ainsley Anderson there setting up the procession.
We don't know, Susan. We do not know.
At least two firefighters were killed by an active sniper. No longer active. That's where we're waiting for the clarification in the news conference. But they have found a deceased male on Canfield Mountain with a firearm nearby. They said any further updates and confirmation of who that person is, it come at 9:30 in that news conference that we will carry live. We have some breaking developments in the Pulse studio. Let's go back to John Webb. John.
Just got this press release from the Coeur d'Alene Fire Department. It kind of describes the events that unfolded this afternoon, talking about how they're going to handle things off over to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, referring to that 9:30 press conference that you just mentioned. We did just get word from firefighters, though the 2 firefighters that were deceased will be escorted by local law enforcement and fire agencies to Spokane, leaving from Kootenai Health in Coeur d'Alene at 8 p.m. That's here in about 8 minutes or so. Ainsley was bringing you live pictures of what they look like to be a police procession coming up, but we just got confirmation that'll happen at 8 p.m. They're bringing the firefighters to Spokane. Where exactly at in Spokane, we don't know at this point. Ainsley Anderson will probably try and work and get some more information in regards to that. I did just get off the phone with the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office as we were talking to you just a couple moments ago, Sean. We're expecting another press release from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office here in a couple of minutes. They said that they would forward that press release on to me. So once we get it, I'll be sure to hop back on the air with you here, Sean.
All right, John. And John confirming a couple of key pieces of information, brand new for all of you. John, thank you in the poll studio with breaking developments there. So the processional for the 2 firefighters killed will begin at 8 o'clock. You just saw Ainsley having those law enforcement vehicles line up. It is hard to see that if you've ever seen that in person and even through a screen. Hard to imagine the loss, and it's a heavy evening here in the Inland Northwest as 2 of our very best have been killed by a sniper. And their bodies will be taken to Spokane. John Webb just confirming that. It's hard to use those words, Leslie, as I bring you in. So they have lifted that shelter in place. I would imagine there's still the fire burning and we have the heat. So now if their threat is reduced or nullified altogether, which they can share with each other, they haven't shared publicly with the media or anybody else, then they're able to go in and tackle that fire that's burning.
The last several hours. What an overwhelming situation, and with such a sad end. I do want to talk about the wind speeds, because we have been talking about this fire. We've been talking about the heat. Now, again, everything has been lifted. So hoping that crews can get in there and get a handle on that fire for our friends up on Canfield Mountain. Wind speeds, they've not been a big player for today. We're seeing sustained winds at 7 miles per hour in Coeur d'Alene, which is, again, good news compared to what we had been seeing just over the last couple of days. Wind gust next to nothing for areas into eastern Washington over towards North Idaho, just a little bit stronger into central Washington. And then the other factor that we pay close attention to is going to be the relative humidity levels. They're sitting still at about 24%. They've been there for the last several hours. Again, this means how dry in play. Going to take and try midweek and or thunderstorms. Of course, the thunderstorms means cloud ground lightning. That could potentially mean new fire starts. So again, I just want to go back out to our Coeur d'Alene community. Our hearts are with you and heartbroken, quite honestly, and just hoping that all the conditions hold together as they should tonight so the crews can get out there and get a handle on this fire. Sean?
All right, Leslie Lowe for us there. So the processional is expected to leave the perimeter of Kootenai Health at 8 p.m. That was confirmed from sources by our John Webb. And let's take you back to that location at Ainsley Anderson, a somber and a grim scene there where 2 firefighters were just a day on the job, responding to a fire like they had probably done hundreds, if not thousands of times. Somebody used a high-powered rifle and they lost their lives. And to their families, we are thinking of you right now, Ainsley.
Yeah, Sean, the crowds are really starting to pick up out here. There are a lot of community members coming out to watch this procession happen. And I'm going to have Michael show you. If you can see, there are even more law enforcement vehicles lighting up the street down here. It's starting to turn northbound on US 95. And as you said, we did get word that the procession is set to start at 8 p.m. And I did get to speak with a few community members who brought flags out today. And one gal I spoke with actually says she is a wife of a law enforcement officer. Luckily, her family and her husband is safe. But she says that this is just a grim scene. And this is a very, very sad day for not only just families of law enforcement, but for everybody in the Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, North Idaho community. And, you know, she says that being able to be out here and being able to support law enforcement officers as they go through this tragedy and as they start to clear the hospital and clear the scene is very important to her. And she says that it's really important, and she's very glad to see all of the other community members that have made their way out here, Sean.
Now that live picture, just hard to see there. Ainsley Anderson, we appreciate it. Let's go back to the poll studio and John Webb.
Just getting some new information from the U.S. Forest Service. All communications we're being told from the U.S. Forest Service are being sent to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I got a statement I want to read for you real quick. I spoke to Carrie Maddox. She's the PIO. I've worked with her since I was in high school covering wildfires, and the tone of her voice was very somber. And same question everybody's got tonight. Why and how could this potentially happen? A statement from the U.S. Forest Service on behalf of Carrie Maddox reads, quote, "Our heartfelt condolences go out to Kootenai County first responders, firefighters, family members, and the greater Coeur d'Alene community. The wildland fire community is inherently an interagency, and when one is impacted, we all are." They go on to say, as the USDA Forest Service, we will stand together with our local government partners to offer any assistance we can throughout this tragic situation. Sean, we brought this other CG full to you just moments ago on the Pulse earlier in the evening. I want to show the picture that's being shared on social media right now with all kinds of different fire districts from across the Inland Empire. And we typically see this when a member of law enforcement or somebody who works for a firefighting agency passes away in the line of duty. You can see that red line, CDA spelled in the middle with the blue line down below. Dozens of Facebook pages changing their profile pictures to this image. Just a somber day here in the Inland Northwest to end out June here in Idaho. Sean.
All right, John Webb. John, thank you so much. I do want to read a statement, and it really gives you a perspective of what happened. If you're just joining us here for this breaking update, a deceased male with a firearm nearby has been found on the Canfield Mountain. We can also tell you that they will clarify more information in detail at the news conference, which we will carry for you live at 9:30 on the stream and on KHQ. And several hours ago, the International Association of Firefighters on Facebook posted this, which does give you context. It says, firefighter members were ambushed earlier today in a heinous act of violence in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. 2 of our brothers were killed in action while responding to a fire when they were attacked by a sniper. The 3rd brother is in surgery. So at least 3 firefighters shot. 2 of them have lost their lives. These are brave first responders that have served our community. Let's take you back to the command post where there has been a shift in tone there. Let's check back in with Belle Lewis.
So that's the latest update. 3 firefighters,
Well, Sean,
two have been confirmed deceased, and a 3rd wounded. There's going to be a procession, and this procession will take them from the hospital. But again, the funeral procession, the bodies of the fallen, the murdered firefighters will go to their respective places where their loved ones will continue to mourn their loss, and all of the firefighters and EMS, emergency responders and first responders will honor their service. And this will be going on in the days that continue. It's just so sad.
Conference at 9:30. Carry it for you as breaking news in its entirety, where we are expecting to learn a lot of new information. As of right now, from all of us at Nonstop Local KHQ, our hearts are with the families of all first responders that can hear my voice tonight. Absolute tragic day in Kootenai County. Breaking news throughout the night, and we will carry that news conference at 9:30. We'll see you then. I'm Sean Owsley.
So there you have it, guys. 2 hours and 30 minutes of coverage here tonight on Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank the moderators, the replay viewers, the new subscribers, the super chatters, the folks who came on to give commentary from the local area. I was flooded with about 50 emails. Let's listen in here.
Due to the incident, and sadly the 2 that were killed had died before making it to the hospital, and 1 is in surgery right now. They say they are working to get us more information on that, but things do seem to have quieted down here. I'm going to have you take a look at the hospital behind me here. We still have a very large presence, but we haven't heard any sirens or seen any lights going down US 95 like we were earlier. It was a pretty active scene up and down this roadway with cars and emergency response vehicles going in and out of this front parking lot at the emergency room, but we really haven't seen a whole lot of movement in the last hour. But we are going to continue to watch, and we are going to continue to try to reach out to the hospital to see if we can't get any updates on the status of the other that is in surgery right now, Sean.
Ainsley Anderson live at Kootenai Health. She is not going anywhere. We expect updates from that location throughout the evening. Let's bring in Leslie, who's receiving some new pictures there. Leslie, the weather does play a role on the fire. They're not fighting the fire at all right now. They are working on pinpointing a suspect. So that fire is going to burn, and we're going to heat up into tomorrow.
And that really is a horrifying situation, right, Sean? Because we are headed towards nightfall. So a big thank you to everybody who's reached out, everyone who's sent in your photo. Cheryl sending in this one. You can see that view there, and it does look like it is growing. I don't see how it can't at this point. Again, thank goodness the winds are not as big of a player as they have been over the last several days. Kathy, thank you so much for this one. Again, you can see the growth in size there. Firefighters, as Sean said, are not able to get in to fight this fire at this time because of that active shooter situation. So this is going to be something that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on as we head through the next several hours. The winds, again, not quite what we have seen. If you'll remember Friday.
Again, the weather has a lot to do with the fire, and that's the continuing coverage. I want to just send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the firefighters who were lost here tonight in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, their families, their loved ones, their first responders who work with them, the community. And as I said, good outweighs the evil. And we always have to keep that in mind, is that the good outweighs the evil. And it holds true with everything that we go through in life, no matter where we are in the world. The good outweighs the bad. So I want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to all affected. We'll be continuing to follow up on developing breaking news as it pertains to this case. Good night from New York City. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for being here. God bless.